The discovery. The crystal formations on Kepler-7 had stood for millions of years, their surfaces etched with symbols that predated most known civilizations. Dr. Vex Thornfield, the galaxy's leading xenoarchaeologist, ran his six-fingered hand across the ancient inscriptions, his blue-scaled skin shimmering under the artificial lights of his excavation site. "Fascinating," he murmured, his voice carrying the musical quality typical of his Zephyrian species. "These markings are older than the progenitor ruins on Andromeda Prime." His research team worked diligently around him, carefully documenting each symbol. The Zephyrian Archaeological Institute had been studying these ruins for 3 standard years, but today felt different. Today, the crystals seemed to pulse with an inner light that Vex had never noticed before. Captain Mira Stone approached the excavation site, her boots crunching on the crystalline sand. As the human diplomatic liaison to the Outer Rim Archaeological Council, she had been monitoring the dig with casual interest. Humans were relatively new to the galactic community, having achieved faster-than-light travel only 2 centuries ago. Most species viewed them as energetic but unremarkable newcomers. "Any breakthrough today, Dr. Thornfield?" Mira asked, adjusting her environmental suit's collar. The thin atmosphere of Kepler-7 required life support for most species, though the Zephyrians seemed more comfortable than others. Vex's large, compound eyes fixed on her with excitement. "Captain Stone, your timing is perfect. We've just completed the translation matrix for the primary inscription. The results are unsettling." He led her to a holographic display showing the ancient symbols alongside their translated meanings. The text appeared in Standard Galactic, the common language adopted by most civilizations. "It reads like a warning," Vex explained, his voice dropping to almost a whisper, "but not the kind we typically find in archaeological sites. This isn't about natural disasters or ancient wars. It's about, well, it's about your species." Mira's eyebrows rose. "Humans? But these ruins predate our space travel by millions of years. How could ancient civilizations have known about us?" Before Vex could respond, a new voice cut through the air like a blade. "Because ancient civilizations were prone to superstition and fantasy." General Cross Velthin strode into the excavation site, his massive frame casting shadows across the crystal formations. The Draconian stood nearly 9 feet tall, his reptilian features arranged in a permanent expression of disdain. His military uniform, adorned with the crimson insignia of the Draconian Empire, marked him as one of the most feared commanders in the galaxy. "General," Mira acknowledged coolly. She had dealt with Velthin before, and their interactions rarely ended well. The Draconian Empire had been expanding aggressively for the past decade, claiming resources and territory with little regard for established treaties. "I came to see what archaeological nonsense was delaying our mining operations," Velthin growled, his forked tongue flicking out to taste the air. "The Empire has legitimate claims to this sector, and these excavations are interfering with our schedule." Dr. Thornfield stepped forward protectively. "General, these ruins are protected under Galactic Heritage Protocol 7. No mining operations can proceed until our study is complete." Velthin's eyes narrowed dangerously. "Your study of fairy tales and primitive scribbles. The Empire grows tired of delays caused by academic curiosity." "These aren't fairy tales," Vex insisted, gesturing toward the translated text. "The inscription specifically mentions a species from the 3rd planet of a yellow star, beings who appear weak but possess hidden strength. It warns against provoking them, calling them the Silent Watchers and the Gardeners of Peace." The Draconian general laughed, a harsh sound that echoed off the crystal walls. "You're seriously suggesting that primitive humans were known to ancient civilizations, humans who barely mastered nuclear fusion 2 centuries ago, who needed Zephyrian assistance to develop proper FTL drives." Mira felt her jaw tighten, but maintained her diplomatic composure. "Our technological development timeline isn't the issue here, General. If these inscriptions are authentic, they represent a significant historical discovery. The only discovery here is how gullible some species can be. Vulcan sneered. Humans are a minor species with delusions of grandeur. Your colonies number less than 50 worlds. Your military consists of outdated ships, and your population barely reaches 15 billion across all systems. Your insects compared to the Empire's might. Vex cleared his throat nervously. General, there's more to the inscription. It mentions consequences for those who ignore the warning. Civilizations that wake the sleeping giant face judgment from the ancient compact. Superstitious nonsense, Vulcan dismissed with a wave of his clawed hand. The Empire recognizes no ancient compacts or sleeping giants. We recognize only strength, and humans possess precious little of that. As if responding to his words, the crystal formations suddenly began to glow brighter. The pulsing light that Vex had noticed earlier became more pronounced, and a low humming filled the air. That's new, Mira observed, her hand instinctively moving to the communicator on her belt. Vex's instruments began registering massive energy fluctuations. The crystals are activating some kind of response system. I've never seen anything like this. The humming grew louder, and the symbols on the crystal walls began to shift and change. New text appeared, flowing across the surfaces like liquid light. Vex frantically adjusted his translation matrix, trying to keep up with the changing inscriptions. It's responding to our presence, he gasped. The system is. It's asking for verification codes. Verification codes. Mira stepped closer to the crystals. What kind of verification? General Vulcan drew his plasma weapon. This is clearly some kind of defensive system. Stand back while I disable it. No, Vex shouted, but it was too late. Vulcan fired a concentrated plasma burst at the central crystal formation. The effect was immediate and dramatic. Instead of being destroyed, the crystals absorbed the energy and redirected it into a brilliant column of light that shot toward the ceiling. The light passed through the excavation dome and continued into space, visible even in the daylight of Kepler-7's twin suns. What have you done? Mira demanded, but Vulcan seemed as surprised as anyone. The crystal chamber filled with a new presence, a voice that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. It spoke in an ancient dialect that Vex's equipment barely recognized, but the translation came through clearly. The compact has been challenged. The Guardians have been threatened. Verification protocols activated, seeking human authorization for response. Mira felt a strange tingling sensation, as if the voice was speaking directly to her genetic code. Without understanding why, she stepped forward and placed her hand on the central crystal. I am Captain Mira Stone of the Terran Diplomatic Corps, she said aloud. I don't understand what's happening, but if you're seeking human authorization, I'm here. The crystal grew warm under her touch, and suddenly the chamber filled with images, holographic projections that showed scenes from across the galaxy. Ancient civilizations, star-spanning empires, and among them, always in the background, humans. Not the humans of the last 2 centuries, but humans who had somehow been present throughout galactic history. Impossible, Vulcan breathed, his weapon forgotten. The images showed human ships, sleek and advanced, observing the rise and fall of countless species. They showed human diplomats preventing wars, human scientists sharing knowledge, human guardians protecting developing civilizations from cosmic threats. Throughout it all, humanity remained in the shadows, appearing primitive and unremarkable to casual observation. The Masquerade Protocol, the ancient voice explained, implemented 12 million years ago when the first compact was signed. Humanity agreed to serve as silent guardians, maintaining peace through careful intervention while appearing as a minor species. Dr. Thornfield's instruments were recording everything, but his scientific mind struggled to process what he was seeing. This suggests that humans have been spacefaring for millions of years, not centuries. But how is that possible? The projections shifted, showing massive structures hidden throughout the galaxy. Space stations disguised as asteroids, monitoring posts built into planetary cores, entire fleets stationed in pocket dimensions accessible only through quantum gates. The revelation was never meant to occur this way, the voice continued. But the compact has been threatened. The Draconian Empire's planned assault on human colonies has triggered emergency protocols. General Valthan's expression had shifted from arrogance to uncertainty. Planned assault. The Empire has made no such plans. More images appeared, showing Draconian fleet movements, tactical discussions, and invasion plans. The ancient monitoring system had been watching everything, recording every conversation, every strategic meeting. The attack fleet departs in 72 standard hours, the voice stated matter-of-factly. Target: the human colony world of Titan 9. Projected casualties: 2.3 million human civilians. Mira's blood ran cold. Titan 9 was one of humanity's newest agricultural colonies, home to families who had volunteered to help feed the growing human population across the Outer Rim. That intelligence is classified at the highest levels, Valthan snarled. How could an ancient system know about current military operations? Because we have been watching, the voice replied. Because the compact requires constant vigilance. Because humanity's role as guardians cannot be maintained if humanity itself is threatened. The crystal chamber began to dim, and the projections faded. But before the ancient presence withdrew completely, it delivered one final message. The masquerade ends now. The galaxy will know the truth. The guardians will no longer hide. Silence filled the chamber as the three representatives of their species stood in stunned contemplation. Everything they thought they knew about galactic history, about humanity's place in the cosmic community, had just been turned upside down. Mira was the first to break the silence. General Valthan, I think we need to have a very serious conversation about your Empire's plans. But the Draconian general was already backing toward the exit, his reptilian features twisted with a mixture of fear and anger. This changes nothing, he hissed. The Empire will not be deterred by ancient fairy tales and holographic theatrics. As he stormed out of the chamber, Mira and Dr. Thornfield exchanged worried glances. The countdown had begun, and somewhere in the depths of space, forces older than recorded history were beginning to stir. The age of humanity's secret guardianship was about to end, and what would emerge from the shadows might change the balance of power in the galaxy forever. The Awakening. 71 hours after the revelation at Kepler 7, the Draconian assault fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Titan 9 system. General Valthan stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Crimson Destroyer, watching as his tactical display showed the peaceful agricultural world spinning serenely around its orange dwarf star. Preliminary scans confirm minimal defensive capabilities, reported his tactical officer, Commander Jex. A few orbital cargo platforms, some atmospheric processors, and what appears to be a small patrol craft in distant orbit. Valthan's forked tongue flicked out as he studied the readings. Despite the ancient warnings and mysterious revelations, Titan 9 looked exactly like what intelligence had suggested. A lightly defended farming colony ripe for conquest. The Empire needed agricultural worlds to feed its expanding population, and human colonies were known for their efficient food production. Any sign of the hidden defenses suggested by that archaeological nonsense? He asked, though his tone suggested he already knew the answer. Negative, General. If humans possess advanced military technology, they're not showing it here. Valthan allowed himself a satisfied growl. The ancient crystal chamber had been impressive theater, but the Empire dealt in reality, not legends. Signal the fleet. Begin standard siege formation. We'll give them one chance to surrender before we take what we need. 300 Draconian warships moved into attack positions, their weapons charging and shields activating. The display of force was overwhelming, designed to break the will of any defending force before the first shot was fired. On Titan 9's surface, the colony's emergency alert system activated for the first time since the settlement's founding. In the small administrative center that served as the colony's capital, Governor Sarah Chen stood in the communications room, watching the tactical display with grim determination. 300 ships, muttered Colonel Marcus Webb, the colony's military advisor, and one of only 50 professional soldiers stationed on Titan IX. We've got 12 atmospheric fighters and a converted cargo hauler with light defensive weapons. Governor Chen, a former engineer who had volunteered to lead the agricultural settlement, activated the emergency communication system. This is Governor Chen of Titan IX Colony to approaching fleet. You are entering sovereign human space without authorization. Please state your intentions. The response came quickly, General Valthan's image appearing on their main screen. Governor Chen, I am General Cross Valthan of the Draconian Empire. Your world contains resources vital to the Empire's interests. You have 1 standard hour to begin evacuation procedures. Any resistance will be met with overwhelming force. General, this is a peaceful agricultural colony, Chen replied calmly. We're protected under the Galactic Settlement Accords. You have no legal claim to this system. Valthan's laugh was as harsh as plasma fire. The Empire recognizes no accords that limit our expansion. You have 59 minutes remaining. The transmission ended, leaving the colony's leadership to contemplate their impossible situation. But as the countdown began, something unexpected happened throughout the Titan IX system. Commander Jake Harrison had been waiting in the shadow of the system's asteroid belt for 3 days, his ship's advanced stealth systems rendering it invisible to conventional sensors. The SNV Prometheus wasn't like other human vessels that alien species had observed. While humanity's public fleet consisted of converted cargo ships and civilian craft upgraded for patrol duty, the Prometheus represented something else entirely. Draconian fleet has assumed siege formation, reported his tactical officer, Lieutenant Sarah Okafor. They're giving the colony 1 hour to surrender. Harrison studied his command display, noting the positions of all 300 enemy vessels. His crew of 200 specialists had trained for this scenario, but they had hoped it would never come to pass. Signal the hidden fleet, he ordered. Execute Revelation Protocol 7. Across the galaxy, ancient systems that had slumbered for millennia began to activate. On worlds where humans had established seemingly primitive colonies, underground installations powered up for the first time in centuries. In the depths of space, monitoring stations disguised as asteroids revealed their true nature as massive defensive platforms. The masquerade that had protected humanity's secret for 12 million years was ending. Dr. Vex Thornfield was still on Kepler 7 when his instruments detected the first signs of the awakening. Energy signatures unlike anything in recorded galactic history began appearing on sensors throughout known space. The ancient crystal chamber that had revealed humanity's secret was now pulsing with renewed activity. Captain Stone, he called urgently into his communicator. You need to see this immediately. Mira had been in emergency negotiations with the Galactic Council, trying to prevent the draconian assault through diplomatic channels. She rushed back to the excavation site to find Vex staring at readings that defied explanation. It's happening everywhere, he whispered. Every star system with a human presence is showing massive energy signatures. Whatever your people have been hiding, they're not hiding it anymore. The ancient voice returned, filling the crystal chamber with its timeless authority. The compact's final phase has begun. The Guardians will reveal themselves. The galaxy will see the truth. New holographic displays activated, showing real-time images from across human space. What they revealed would have seemed impossible just days earlier. On Earth itself, the planet's surface opened in thousands of locations, revealing vast underground cities that put the greatest alien metropolises to shame. Shipyards that could construct vessels the size of small moons emerged from hidden ocean bases. The primitive human homeworld was revealed as one of the most advanced manufacturing centers in the galaxy. But it was what happened at Titan IX that truly demonstrated humanity's hidden capabilities. As General Valthan's deadline approached, space around the agricultural colony began to shimmer. Commander Harrison gave a single order: drop the veils. The effect was instantaneous and devastating to draconian morale. What had appeared to be empty space around Titan IX suddenly revealed a defensive fleet that dwarfed the attacking force. Hundreds of human vessels materialized, their hulls reflecting technologies that seemed decades ahead of anything the Draconians possessed. Impossible, Valthan breathed, watching his tactical display struggle to process the new contacts. Where did they come from? His answer came from Governor Chen, whose previous transmission had seemed like the desperate plea of a helpless colony administrator. Now her voice carried the authority of someone who had been in command of far more than an agricultural settlement. General Valthan, this is Admiral Sarah Chen of the Terran Defense Force. You are now facing the 7th Fleet of the Human Guardian Navy. Your vessels are outgunned, outmaneuvered, and completely surrounded. I strongly suggest you reconsider your invasion plans. The transformation was complete. Titan IX's simple orbital platforms revealed themselves as military installations equipped with weapons that registered as beyond current galactic technology. The small patrol craft in distant orbit was actually a command vessel coordinating the entire defensive network. But the most shocking revelation came when the ancient monitoring system connected to every major communication network in the galaxy. The voice that had spoken to 3 people in a crystal chamber now addressed every sentient being capable of receiving transmissions. Citizens of the galaxy, the collective announced, its words reaching billions of minds simultaneously. For 12 million years, humanity has served as your guardians, maintaining peace through careful intervention while appearing as a minor species. This masquerade ends today. Images flooded the galactic networks, showing the true scope of human influence throughout history. Every major war that had ended in unexpected peace, every tyrant whose plans had mysteriously failed, every technological breakthrough that had arrived at just the right moment to prevent disaster, all bore the subtle touch of human intervention. The Draconian Empire's planned genocide of human civilians has triggered the Revelation Protocols, the collective continued. The Guardians will no longer hide. In the Titan IX system, General Valthan found himself facing a tactical situation that no Draconian commander had ever encountered. His 300 ships were now confronted by a human fleet of nearly 1,000 vessels, each demonstrating capabilities that his instruments couldn't fully analyze. General, Commander Harrison's voice came over the communication channel, calm and professional. I'm transmitting detailed scans of your fleet's weapon systems, shield configurations, and structural weaknesses. As you can see, we've been studying Draconian military technology for quite some time. The tactical data that appeared on Valthan's screens was terrifyingly accurate. The humans knew every detail of his ship's capabilities, every weakness in their design, every tactical doctrine in their military handbook. We could disable your entire fleet without destroying a single ship, Harrison continued. But that's not why we're here. We're here to offer you the same thing we've offered every species for millions of years, a chance to choose peace over conflict. Admiral Chen's image appeared on every screen in the Draconian fleet. General Valthan, your empire has 2 choices. You can retreat now, return to your leadership, and inform them that humanity is far more than you believed. Or you can attack and discover why ancient civilizations warned against provoking us. For a moment that stretched like an eternity, the fate of 2 species hung in the balance. Then, slowly, General Valthan gave the order that would reshape galactic politics forever. All ships, stand down weapons. Prepare for strategic withdrawal. As the Draconian fleet retreated, Commander Harrison activated a galaxy-wide communication system that had been hidden for millennia. His words reached every inhabited world simultaneously. This is Commander Jake Harrison of the Terran Guardian Fleet. For too long, humanity has worked in shadows to maintain galactic peace. Today, that changes. We stand ready to work openly with all species to build a better future for everyone. The age of secrets was over. The galaxy would never be the same. In the months that followed, the revelation of humanity's true role led to unprecedented changes in galactic society. The Draconian Empire, Faced with the knowledge that their expansion had been carefully limited by human intervention for centuries, chose cooperation over conquest. New alliances formed as species realized that the primitive humans had been their protectors all along. Dr. Vex Thornfield published his findings about the Kepler-7 ruins, earning recognition as the archaeologist who uncovered the greatest secret in galactic history. Captain Mira Stone found herself appointed as humanity's first official ambassador to the Galactic Council, a position that carried far more weight now that everyone understood what humanity truly was. And in the depths of space, the ancient monitoring systems continued their eternal watch, guided by the same principle that had driven human guardianship for 12 million years. That true strength lay not in conquest, but in the patient protection of those who could not protect themselves. The galaxy had learned, perhaps too late for some, why the ancients had warned against provoking humanity. But it had also learned something more important, that Earth's children were not conquerors to be feared, but guardians to be trusted. The age of hiding was over. The age of open guardianship had begun. And across the stars, peace reigned as it had for millions of years, no longer secret, but celebrated by all who called the galaxy home.